Welcome to Ecclesia Principles, a biblical strategy for believers to engage in God's design for government with Ray Eppard.
Hello, glad you could join us again today. We looked at some things last week about where we are as a society, and I want to begin to do that again this week, different issues. This week, I really want to talk about what's happening with children and parents in our culture right now. And a lot of this is going to center around public education. Now, it is very important to understand, and I want to use Ephesians 6, 1 through 4 as a basis for some of this, because one of the ecclesia principles is jurisdictional government. Now, God established 4 jurisdictions: self-government, family government, church government, and civil government. In that, each jurisdiction, if you would, has a boundary. That's the very nature of a jurisdiction. With this, we have to understand, with the issues that we're facing in our culture today, that parents have the jurisdiction over their children. And the bottom line is the more we make parents not responsible, the more that destroys the jurisdiction of family government. And it sets in motion a lot of things that we'll talk about. But first, let's read Ephesians 6, 1 through 4. Children, obey your parents in the Lord. It doesn't say children obey the government. It says children, obey your parents in the Lord. For this is right. Honor your father and mother, which is the first commandment with promise, that it may be well with you and that you may live long on the earth. And you fathers, do not provoke your children to wrath, but bring them up in the training and admonition of the Lord. Now, here we see a command given to children, but we also see a command given to fathers or parents in that situation. You see, children and parents make up the family. It is its own jurisdiction. Now, in this, one of the overarching principles that you see in so many of the principles God has put in, we could call it the principle of boundaries. And you could even call that an ecclesia principle. Now, with this, those boundaries, what's happening in our culture today is so much of what is happening, particularly in the public school system. And by public school, we're talking about the agenda of government, because the public school system is under the government. The government, it was actually designed and set up for it to be controlled locally through school boards, and that school boards actually have the main authority regarding education and to keep it locally. However, over the years, through funding and through bureaucracy, public school has largely gotten controlled by government, federal and state government. And so with that, education is designed to further an agenda. Now, the bottom line is, let's just talk about education in general for a second. The purpose of education is to teach people how to function within society. Deuteronomy chapter 6, God told the people of Israel how to educate and train their children, what to train them with. All of those things following that would create a culture. Education creates culture, because in that, you're not just talking about reading, writing, and arithmetic. That's never the case. It is, a lot of people say, well, I just wish we could get back to reading, writing, and arithmetic. Well, what are you going to do in biology when you talk about humanity? How many genders are there? You see, the bottom line is you cannot ultimately separate education and ideology. It can't be done. It's never done. It always carries an ideology. It always carries a worldview. The bottom line is a worldview has to be chosen. Which one are you going to pick? Now, there's always going to be one there. Always. It's never not there. Now, with this, we have so much in our culture today that because of governmental control in education, public school is usually the first place that things get initiated. It gets put in there because they deem that they have complete control there. And people typically accept the idea that the government has control there. It is a government school. They have control. School boards, in all honesty, sadly, a lot of school boards act like they have no authority, where ultimately they do. They are supposed to be the voice of the community to the educational system and make the educational system fit within community standards. That's the way it was set up and it was designed. But we've got so many that are involved in school boards, they have bought into the ideology of the Department of Education, and so all they're doing is pushing it. You know, two of the main issues that we're really dealing with right now, and all of it comes down to gender, is that the gender identity. Does the school let parents know if their child is identifying differently? The whole pronoun issue, and the bathrooms. What bathrooms does a person use? And there are schools that are now building unisex bathrooms, that the boys and the girls will go into the same bathroom. Now, a lot of this, it's just not smart. I mean, it's just not smart. And with this, because of the agenda of many in our country, again, this is put into the school system first. Why? Because you, especially the younger children, you are forming their values. You're creating the world that they're accustomed to. To a large extent, you're creating their comfort zone. What they deem acceptable, what they deem normal. You're creating their normal. And there's a phrase that, in all honesty, the left loves to use. They're trying to create a new normal. A new normal. It's normal for boys and girls to go in the bathroom. That's what they want to create. It is social engineering that began in the 60s, and it's really taking hold in this generation. And you see, with this, what it is doing, in order to accomplish this completely, they have to undermine parental rights. They have to remove, if you would, the jurisdiction of family. See, so much of the push right now in our culture is to bring everything under civil government. That was not the design of our Constitution. It was not the intent of our founding fathers. Limited government is not about size of government, it is about jurisdiction. That's why the Bill of Rights, the first 10 amendments to the Constitution, all listed what government could not do, what it could not do. And with that, those were limits placed on the government. And right now, what is happening, and one of them, in all honesty, was that they can't come into your home without a proper warrant. There has to be just cause to come in there, that there has been a violation of someone's rights. Otherwise, they have to have your permission to come. You That is your jurisdiction. That was a recognition of the family jurisdiction that God had established. But so much of what is happening today is designed to eliminate the other jurisdictions, eliminate self-government, eliminate family government, eliminate church government, bring everything in under civil government, where civil government has total control. Now, when civil government has total control, that's called tyranny. It's called tyranny. Anytime one jurisdiction takes the control of another jurisdiction, that's tyrannical. It is tyranny. And that is not the design that God had. It's not the design of our own nation, that civil government would have authority over all of those things. Again, that's the concept of limited government, that civil government has a jurisdiction that it functions within. It has to function within those boundaries and honor the other jurisdictions. Right now, particularly regarding family, children, the teachers, the school system doesn't have to tell if a parent's child is transitioning, if they're identifying. That is the push again, because what are they doing? They're whittling away at the jurisdiction of family. They're whittling away, trying to continue to minimize the parental rights, the jurisdiction of family, so that eventually it will slowly get whittled down to the point that it doesn't exist. And everything regarding family will be under civil government. Now, with this, you have to understand that prior to World War II, Hitler, when he came to power, one of the things he established was the Hitler Youth Program. The Hitler Youth Program. And with that, what he did, that was designed for young boys, but things have changed now. So it's not just going after one gender, it's going after everybody, is that his whole design with that was to teach the children, to teach the young people the principles of Nazism, to indoctrinate them with that, to make them aware of that. And ultimately, our public school systems in many places are nothing more than another youth program designed to teach the children that the government is in control and the principles of that government. And with this, largely, it is liberalism. It is not liberty. It is not self-government. It is not honoring the boundaries and jurisdiction of family government. It is the principle that government needs to be in control of all of this. And that is what is being taught to so many of our children today. And it is all designed to undermine the jurisdiction of family. It is a battle that has to be fought. There has to be a line drawn, if you would, and go, no, these are our children. Now, tomorrow we'll get into some of the things about their arguments of why government has to. And we'll deal with that tomorrow. But you need to know how to counter that. Because with this, we have to understand that you don't fix something by doing something else wrong. Two wrongs do not make a right. We really need to follow the blueprint that God established. See you tomorrow.